This is a big story. It's about voter suppression. Welcome back to The Ed Show. Today was National Voter Registration Day, a day of coordinated efforts to educate and register eligible voters before registration deadlines for November 6th. And a new study finds that these efforts are needed now more than ever, particularly for Latino citizens in America. The study released by the Advancement Project finds voter suppression laws could disenfranchise an estimated 10 million Latino voters in 2012. The influence of Latino voters has grown in the last few years. According to the 2010 census, America's 21 million Latino citizens represent 10% of eligible voters. And as projected this year, the number could top 25 million voters, or just over 12% of the nation's eligible voters. Basically, the Latino vote could play a decisive and major role in this presidential election. And a recent poll of registered Latino voters finds President Obama leading Mitt Romney 69 to 24%. But that voting power has been under attack with the flood of new Republican-led state-level voting restrictions. The study finds voter purges and ID requirements being enacted in 23 states could disproportionately affect voter registration and participation by Latino citizens. In fact, in many states, the number exceeds the margin of victory. Exceeds the margin of victory in the last election, 2008. And that number could grow. It could grow if these laws aren't blocked. Colorado and Florida, the two states to watch, they are cited as identifying voters for possible purging by comparing their voter registrations with driver license databases. Now, here's how it works. Naturalized citizens typically receive their licenses when they were legal immigrants, before they became naturalized citizens, which means this use of outdated information specifically targets naturalized citizens. These laws are an assault on voting rights, and they're turning eligible Latino voters into second-class citizens. Let's bring in Teresa Kumar, MSNBC contributor and the president of Voto Latino. This is a big deal. What is the game plan?
It's a huge deal because we're talking about Americans who happen to be Latino that are going to get disenfranchised from the political process. When you're talking about elections where they're only won by less than 1 or 2%, to give you an example, Ed, in North Carolina, Obama won the presidency with 14,000 votes. That was 5 votes per precinct. This is a close election. When we're talking about the rise in the Latino voter in North Carolina, in Florida, in Texas, Pennsylvania, who's having these outrageous voter ID laws where 1 in 6 Latinos will be disenfranchised, not only should Latinos should be outraged, Americans should be outraged.
Well, how many can you register between now and the next 40 days? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. So today is National Voter Registration Day. It's the very first one. It's historic. We had 50 Secretary of States, both Republican and Democratic, coming together and saying, we need this action today. And we've been able to register, just today alone, close to 100,000 individuals. And so we're super excited. I mean, we do see a groundswell, but it's not enough. We need to make sure that Americans talk to each other about voter ID laws, make sure that they're prepared to go to the polls, and make sure that people realize that at the ballot box, it's about the American voter.
I'm going to go to Florida and do this story. For instance, Florida has set near impossible deadlines to prove citizenship. So how does President Obama win? How do the Democrats get their voice out, get their vote out when they have these roadblocks in front of them? I mean, the general election's right around the corner.
It's around the corner, but I think one is that folks have to get informed of what kind of ID they need. One of the biggest problems right now, for example, in Florida, is that they've done voter purges that actually have been stopped. They went after American citizens with Latino surnames, veterans, basically saying that they weren't sure if they were citizens or not. We have to make sure that we're communicating to our communities, understanding what those voter ID laws are, and how to make sure that we're actually getting those IDs.
The numbers add up that this could be the election. Fair enough?
It's absolutely. And look, this is a game plan, and what the biggest problem right now is that you can't change the rules in the middle of the game because you're afraid of the outcome. You can't steal the vote. You should be actually going after individuals and trying to sway them to make sure that they're participating.
What do you make of what's going on in Pennsylvania? I mean, the study finds that Pennsylvania voter ID could prevent nearly 1 out of 6 Latinos from voting.
Absolutely. That's close to 250,000 Americans that are going to be disenfranchised at the polls. What's beautiful about it at the same time is that you see organizations coming together and trying to get the IDs in the same process. The problem is that because of these onerous ID laws, the state itself cannot make sure, they can't create the IDs fast enough for the folks that need it. This is an American issue. The fact that you want to prevent an American from participating at the poll, our democratic bedrock, is something that should not be only prevented, but that we should be talking about every single day.
Maria Teresa, Kumar, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank
Keep up the great work. Coming up, Mitt Romney tries to lead a chant, but the crowd has other ideas. Stay with us. Kind of fun.